Oslo, or Oslo as Norwegians say, is the largest city and the capital of Norway. This video will tell you everything you need to know when visiting Oslo, from traveling to Oslo, how to get around, the famous sites, and also the unknown parts of the city which you would not find in any other travel guide. Our producer has been living in Oslo since 2008, and me, the narrator, has also lived here for about 10 years, so we know our way around. Which means this is not a video done by a travel influencer who just visited the city for a couple of days. As Oslo is a very big city with a lot to see, so we will structure the video the following way. Click on the corresponding chapter if you are especially interested in a topic. First, we'll tell you about the geography, weather and history of Oslo. Then we will show you how to travel to Oslo, and since Oslo is big, we're going to explain the public transport system, and then we'll talk about the Oslo main attractions, and when you have seen them, we'll show you the lesser known attractions. And if you still want more, then we get the places unknown to tourists. But Oslo consists of 70% of forests, so we will show you the outdoor and nature activities as well. We are not going in depth at each attraction, we will tell you the highlights and how to get there. Opening hours are best checked on the attraction's websites, as they might change between when we made the video and when you are visiting. Public transport lines are as of 2023 and might change. Oslo is located in the southeastern part of Norway, at the end of the Oslo fjord, and between the hills and mountains of Nordmarka and Østmarka. There are over 700,000 people living in Oslo. If counting the neighboring municipalities, over 1 million people live in the larger Oslo area. All around the Oslo fjord, nearly 2 million people live, which is 40% of the population of Norway. Surface-wise, Oslo is one of the largest capitals of Europe, but 2/3 of the area is covered by protected forests, hills and lakes. There are no big rivers in Oslo, but there are 2 smaller ones, Akerselva and Alna. Akerselva runs straight through the city, and the many waterfalls were earlier sources of energy for industry. The river flows out of the lake Maridalsvannet, which is currently Oslo's largest drinking water source. The river Alna flows east through Groruddalen, Oslo's major suburbs and industrial area. The climate in Oslo is humid continental with warm summers and fairly cold winters. Although global warming has already reduced the snow season by a month compared to the end of the 20th century. The highest temperature measured was 35 degrees and the coldest was -26. When it's that cold, the fjord will freeze, but that hasn't really happened since 2009. There is around 7 hours of daylight in December and 19 hours in June. It never gets really dark then, so it's not possible to see the stars during that time. From Oslo, it's only possible to see the polar lights around 2 or 3 times a year, so one should not count on that. The city is divided into 14 boroughs. As tourists, the boroughs of Sentrum, Frogner and Grünnerløkka are probably the most important. Another division is the East and West End, in Norwegian Øst- og Vestkant. Even up to this day, the West End is considered the posh and well-off side, and the East the more for the working class and immigrants. The border is Ulandgate, which is just west of Akerselva, but there are also popular areas in the west like Hovseter and rich ones in the east like Kjelsås or Ekeberg. The East End is by no means run down or dangerous. Today it's just cultural, they even speak different dialects. Certainly many of you wonder what kind of weather to expect during the year. As a general rule, the weather as everywhere in Norway is very unpredictable and changes a lot from year to year. So there can be long periods of sunshine or rain at any time of the year. In January and February, the temperatures are usually negative. It can go below -20 Celsius, but that has become very rare. There is usually snow outside the city. In the center, the snow is usually removed and the rest is more brown or grey. It's usually very cold when there are no clouds at night, and in some years the fjord can freeze. March is totally unpredictable. Our producer has experienced everything from -19 to +22, and from no snow to a lot of snow. In April and May it usually gets warmer, but it can still snow in May or be 30+. June and July are usually the hottest months. Temperatures over 25 usually happen regularly, but they are also the wettest months. If it rains, expect the temperature to be around 17 or 18 degrees. 30+ happen more often, but it's only a couple of days a year. August starts to become fresher, but 20 Celsius and more is common during daytime. As we near September and October, it cools down, and during night it can go below freezing. The first snowfall can happen at the end of October, but usually melts away, but lays just long enough to create chaos, as many people haven't changed to winter tires yet. November is maybe the least pleasant month, as it is cold, but not cold enough to have snow, and in December the first snow usually comes, so White Christmas is still a common sight. Oslo dates back to the 11th century. Originally, it was a small settlement which laid where Gamlebyen is today. The city grew in importance as a trading center, and in the late Middle Ages, it became the capital of Norway when King Håkon V started residing permanently in Oslo. He also ordered the construction of the Akershus Fortress. There were several city fires over the years, but the one of 1624 is the most important one. A new city was built next to the Akershus Fortress and named Christiania in honor of the Danish-Norwegian king Christian IV. It was made in the Renaissance style with a regular grid. This part of the city is called Kvadraturen today. It was ordered to not reconstruct the old Oslo. After the transfer of Norway from Denmark to Sweden, many buildings were constructed like the royal castle and the university. The 19th century was a time of rapid growth and change for Christiania, as the city expanded and modernized. Major infrastructure projects, such as the construction of a new harbor and railway station, helped to connect the city to the rest of Norway, and especially to the then capital of Stockholm, as Norwegians was given to Sweden after the Napoleonic Wars. In the early 20th century, Christiania underwent another significant transformation, as the Norwegian government sought to Norwegianize the country's place names and reduce the influence of Danish culture. In 1925, Christiania was officially renamed Oslo. The part of Christiania which was called Oslo was renamed to Gamlebyen, the old town. After World War II, the city was modernized and many old buildings were demolished and replaced with modern ones. In 1948, it merged with the neighboring municipalities of Aker to create a more cohesive and effective administrative structure for the region. The border used to be at Majorstuen. Second modernizing phase started in the 1990s when old harbor facilities were closed, demolished and replaced with vibrant new buildings, like Aker Brygge, Tjuvholmen, Bjørvika and Sørenga. On the 22nd of July 2011, the terrorist Anders Behring Breivik detonated a bomb next to the Prime Minister building, which severely damaged all surrounding buildings, as well as caused minor damages to buildings several streets away. The reconstruction of the government quarter is, by the time of making this video, in 2023, still in progress. At the moment, the project should be completed by 2029. The easiest way to travel to Oslo from abroad is by plane. The main airport is Oslo Gardermoen, which is located about 40 kilometers north of Oslo. Some cheaper airlines will sometimes fly to Oslo Torp, which in Norway is actually known as Sandefjord Torp, and is located 100 kilometers to the south of Oslo. If you arrive or depart from there, be sure to calculate enough time for the travel by bus and train. Using Gardermoen is much easier. When arriving, just walk past the huge exit duty-free shop to the baggage claim. If you need smokes or booze, it's the last time you can get stuff for cheap, relatively speaking. After clearing customs, it's time to take public transport. You can take the train, bus or taxi. The last option is the most expensive, of course. The bus is only recommended if you don't want to travel to the center, but a specific place where the bus stops closer. Most people will take the train. You can choose the regular train or the Airport Express. The Express runs more often, but will usually cost more. There are two lines, the one which goes straight to Oslo Central Station, and the other one which continues to Drammen, but stops at the stations in between. The advantage of Airport Express is when going to the airport, in case of train problems, they will help to book you on the next flight in case you missed it, but only if you had planned enough time originally. Check their conditions for more details. When taking the regular train, the ticket will also cover public transport in Oslo during 2.5 hours. More about that in the next section. It's also possible to travel to Oslo by train. There are international train services from Stockholm and Göteborg several times a day, and as well as long-distance trains from Bergen, Trondheim and Stavanger. You'll also find long-distance buses from abroad and all around Norway. All these lines arrive at Oslo Bus Terminal, which is right next to the central station. If you want it a bit more special, you can travel to Oslo by boat from Denmark and Germany. There is a daily course from Copenhagen and Frederikshavn with DFDS and one from Kiel with Color Line. Both are car ferries, so this leads to our last mode of transport, driving to Oslo. As mentioned, you can put your car on one of the ferries or just drive by the motorway. Oslo has a lot of toll roads and it's not easy to park in the city even for locals, so be sure to book a hotel with parking or something outside the city center. Also, driving in the city center is a pain, as there are many one-way streets. There are plans to restrict the city center to only electric vehicles, so be aware of that if you're watching this video a couple of years after it was made. Oslo has the largest public transport system in Norway. It consists of trains, metro, or underground as Norwegians called T-bane, trams, buses and boats. The trains are used to connect the adjacent communes and towns like Drammen. Each line usually runs every hour or half an hour. As a tourist, you most probably won't need to use the trains except for going to the airport. The underground connects the different suburbs together as part of the city. The name T-bane or T-bane is short for tunnelbane, which means tunnel train. It mostly runs in tunnels in the city center, but usually above ground outside of it. Each line runs every 15 minutes with extra trains during rush hour. The trams connect the city center together. This is also a nice way to do city sightseeing. For example, line 12, which will pass many attractions along its route. The buses connect the rest of the city. Then there are the boats, which connects places along the fjord and on the islands. The main line is the one to Nesodden, which runs at least once per hour. The other lines run way less often, and some are just seasonal. An important note here, the Bygdøy ferry from Aker Brygge is not part of the common zone and ticket system, so you need to buy extra tickets for that one. Unless you have an Oslo pass, which we will cover in a minute. The public transport is split into zones. The city of Oslo is Zone 1. You most probably won't need multi-zone tickets, except when going to the airport. Also, the underground is always in Zone 1, even when crossing zone borders. You can buy single tickets valid for 60 minutes or 24 hours, or you can buy a week or a month pass. A day pass is worth it if you ride at least 3 times within 24 hours. You need to take transport on 4 days for a week pass and 12 days for a month pass. There are reduced fares for children and people older than 67. The easiest way to buy tickets is to use the Ruter app. If you are traveling with other people, you can buy all tickets on one device, as long as all people drive together. Otherwise, there are a few automats on underground and train stations. Tickets can also be bought at kiosks like 7-Eleven, Narvesen, Mix, Grünnerløkka and similar. When buying a ticket, you don't need to show it when going on board, only in case of a control. It is possible to buy on board, on trains, buses and boats, but this is not recommended as you will have to pay an extra fee. For tourists, there is also the Oslo Pass, which gives free access to public transport in Zone 1 and 2, most museums in Oslo, as well as discounts in other places. To be worthy, you need to visit at least 3 museums per day. There are Oslo Pass for 1, 2 or 3 days. Oslo Passes are bought with the Oslo Pass app. For more information, check VisitOSLO's website. There are some museums which are not part of the Oslo Pass program, but who will still accept it. So now that you know how to get around, we will show you the different attractions. First, the main attractions are shown, which you should see when coming to Oslo. The Vigelandsparken is probably the most well-known and most visited attraction in Oslo. It consists of a series of statues and monuments created by the Norwegian artist Gustav Vigeland in the beginning of the 20th century. In 1919, Vigeland had the idea to create this park based on his sculptures. It took him nearly 10 years to get the necessary funding. To create the centerpiece of the park, the 14 meters high monolith, a huge block of granite was transported to the park and erected there, where it stands today. Then 3 of the best stonecutters worked on it for 14 years, carving it out based on Vigeland plaster design. The name Vigelandsparken is mostly used for tourists. The locals refer to the park as Frognerparken. The official name is Frognerparken og Vigelandsanlegget, as the Vigeland installation is only part of the Frognerpark. You will have many gatherings of locals in the park, especially on warm summer days. The park is open 24/7, and you can reach it by taking tramline 12 to the station Vigelandsparken. You can take any metro line to the station Majorstuen, which is about 5-minute walk to the park. There are also parking places around the park, but they might be occupied. For interested people, there is the nearby Vigeland Museum to learn more. Do not confuse it with the Emanuel Vigelands Museum in Slemdal, which is about Gustav Vigeland's brother. The new Munch Museum opened in 2021 and is located in Bjørvik next to the opera. Over several floors, the visitors will see many of Munch's most famous pieces of art. There are also exhibitions of other artists. On the top floor of the Lambda building, there is a bar and a restaurant. Most visitors want to see The Scream, but there is a caveat. Since the versions on display were drawn on paper, they are much more fragile than oil paintings on canvas. Light and humidity are damaging them over time. For that, only one of the 3 versions are on display at any time. Every full hour, the painting on display changes. Unfortunately, it's random which image is shown, so you'll have to check every hour to see all 3. The National Museum is a general art museum and the largest of its kind in Norway. It will give you an overview of Norwegian and international art. Many of the most famous paintings by Norwegian artists are exhibited here. There is a special room dedicated to Edvard Munch, with some paintings which cannot be seen at the Munch Museum, like a version of The Scream, which can be seen at all times. The exhibition extends over 3 floors. The 2 first floors are divided in around 70 rooms, each displaying objects of a certain topic, epoch or artist. The easiest is just to follow the numbers so you won't miss anything. The 3rd floor is used for temporary exhibitions. The museum moved to a completely new building in 2022, which is located at Aker Brygge, right behind the Nobel Peace Prize Center, in the area which used to be the Western train station. Plan at least 2 hours to visit the National Museum. The Fram Museum is located at Bygdenes. The Fram was the ship used by Roald Amundsen on the expedition to reach the South Pole. Around the ship, the visitors can learn everything about the expedition and Amundsen's life. It is also possible to board the ship and visit the inside. So you can see the different crew quarters, the living areas, the storage space and the engine room. In the side building, the Gjøa is exhibited. This is the ship Amundsen used for his first expedition to explore the Northwest Passage. It is a much smaller ship than the Fram. You should plan at least 1 hour to visit the Fram Museum, preferably more. You reach the Fram Museum by taking bus 30 to Bygdenes. The Kontiki Museum is located at Bygdenes next to Fram Museum. The main attractions at the museum are the raft Kontiki and the papyrus boat Ra 2. Both were built by Thor Heyerdahl, who wanted to prove that early humans were able to traverse the oceans. The Kontiki demonstrated that people from South America could have colonized Polynesia. The Ra 2 demonstrated that it was possible to reach America using the technique used by the ancient Egyptians. Around the ships, the visitors will find a lot of information about the expeditions. There is also a small cinema which shows the original Kontiki documentary. Plan at least 45 minutes to visit the museum. If you want to watch the documentary, plan an additional 70 minutes. You reach the Kontiki Museum by taking bus 30 to Bygdenes. By the time of the making of this video, the Vikingship Museum is closed for renovation and expansion. It is planned to reopen in 2026. If you're watching this video after 2026, check if we have made a video about it. The Folkemuseum is an open-air museum located on Bygde. There you will find a collection of old buildings from all around Norway. The buildings are grouped by region. The highlights are the Stave Church of Gol, the farm from Trøndelag, and city building with apartments from different time periods. The Stave Church is the original, which was dismantled in Gol and transported to Oslo at the end of the 19th century. During the summer season, there are many attractions and activities in the museum, like crafting, horse carriage or dancing. During the first 2 weekends in December, there is a large Christmas market in the museum, and the buildings are decorated as they would have been when they were still in use. You reach Bygdøy by taking bus 30 to the stop Folkemuseum, which is right in front of the museum. Plan half a day to visit the Folkemuseum on days with attraction. Right in the city center, on the shore, is the Akershus Fortress. This castle and fortress was started in the late 13th century and continuously expanded over the next centuries. Today it contains the military and resistance museums. Some parts of the castle can also be visited on certain days. The exterior, like the walls, can be visited for free. There is a very nice view from the wall towards the fjord. Unfortunately, the view can be ruined if a huge cruise ship is docked right in front of it. The Karl Johan Gate is the main street of Oslo, which runs from the main train station to the royal castle. Along the street you will also find Stortinget, the Norwegian Parliament, Eidsvoll Plass, the Grand Hotel, and where the winner of the Peace Nobel Prize will wave to the crowd, the university, and a bit further away the National Theatre. The street is now only for pedestrians. There are shops all along the street, but it's not regarded as a good shopping street. For shopping, try other areas like Bogstadveien or Grünnerløkka if you're looking for unique shops. If you're wondering what all these huge flower pots are, then these are anti-terror blockades, and they were installed after the terror attack of the 22nd July 2011, to avoid cars driving into sensible areas like the Parliament or the huge crowds in the shopping street. Before Christmas, there is a market on Eidsvoll Plass. You will also find a Ferris wheel, and the fountain in the middle is transformed into a skating rig. The rig stays there for the whole winter. Every August in odd-numbered years, when there are elections, the diverse political parties will have their booth along the street, so it's not unusual to meet high-ranking ministers there talking to the people. At the end of Karl Johans Gate, you will find the royal castle, where the king is residing. Unlike other castles and heads of states' residences, there is no gate around it, so one can go really close. There are guards around, and most of the guards are young people doing their military service, so they are not as stoic as the guards in England. They will answer when you ask them questions. Every day at 1:30 there is the change of guard. On most days it is quite a small ceremony, but sometimes there is a parade with marching music. It is possible to visit the inside of the castle during the Norwegian summer vacation from mid-June to mid-August. For tickets, see the castle website. most tours are in Norwegian, but there are also tours in English. In front of the castle there is a big statue of King Karl Johan. Around the castle there is also a big park, and behind the castle you will also find Queen Sonja art stable. The Queen is a big fan of modern art. Aker Brygge was like the first modern quarter in Oslo. Until 1982, this area used to be a shipyard, the Akershus Mekaniske Verksted. Norway's first oil platform was actually built here in the middle of the harbor. In several phases between 1986 and 2014, the old buildings were either demolished or converted to some business area. Also, 400 apartments were built, which were at the time of completion prime locations in Oslo. Today over 900 people live here and 6,000 people come to work here. The end of Aker Brygge is called Holmenkollen. There is the NLE Museum, which we'll present in a later chapter. There's also the view tower, Tjuvtitten, which is basically a lift which stops at the top and goes down later. For some reason our producer never saw it, being in use in the 10 years it existed. Also it was often closed due to wind. In any case, there was never a queue in front of it. In Aker Brygge you will also find many restaurants in all price ranges. Even if there are many tourists here, some restaurants have many locals going there. High above the city there is Holmenkollen. There are many kollen around Oslo, as kollen means hill or little mountain. Holmenkollen is the most known of these, as it harbors one of the world's most famous ski jump towers. Today's tower was built between 2008 and 2011, and replaced the previous one from 1982. Like usual for this kind of project, the construction costs went totally out of control. Below the jump tower there is the ski museum, and the museum is by the time of the release of this video under renovation. It should reopen by the end of 2023, so the inside pictures will not match what you experience. There you will find everything about the history of skiing and the jump tower. From the ski museum, you have access to the view platform at the top of the jump tower, from where you will have an incredible view of Oslo. If there is a queue for the lift to the platform, visit the museum and check from time to time if the queue has become shorter. From the top, you will also see what a ski jumper sees before flying down. To experience this, you can do the zipline. If you continue up the road, you will arrive at Frognerseteren. There you will find the restaurant of the same name in a log house from the 19th century. Another popular attraction in the area is Korketrekkeren. This is a sledge slope from Frognerseteren to Midtstuen. Sledges can be rented at the top, and in Midtstuen you take the metro back to do another round. To access the jump tower, take Metro Line 1 to the station Holmenkollen and follow the signs. You can also take the same line to the terminus at Frognerseteren and walk down. The opera is located next to the train station in the fjord. It is a building covered with marble, so it looks like an iceberg rising from the sea. The roof can be accessed via ramps and stairs, so you have views toward the fjord. After it was constructed in 2008, it really stood out from the surrounding, but it was next to a motorway. Over the years, higher buildings were built around, like Deichmann Library and the Munch Museum, so that it goes a bit under. The roof is usually open 24/7, but access can be restricted in case of ice or due to some events in the opera. And yes, there is also the opera and the ballet inside the building. Grünnerløkka is a borough located east of Akerselva. It used to be inhabited by the worker class in the 19th century, as there were many factories along the river. It is up to this day the most populated part of Oslo. During the 20th century, the area started to decline, and it was considered several times to tear down everything. But it was decided in the 1970s to restore and upgrade most of the buildings instead. Around that time, immigrants from foreign countries started to move in. They opened shops and restaurants which were different from elsewhere in Oslo. the place started to be hip amongst young people. And during the 2000s, living in Grünnerløkka became very attractive and expensive, so the immigrants moved out. Today, there are many small shops, bars and restaurants. Grünnerløkka also has many parks and open places. The most famous are Olav Ryes plass, Birkelunden and Sofienberg. If you want to go out partying after your sightseeing, this is the place to go. Grünnerløkka is accessible by the tram lines 11, 12, 17 and 18. Between the opera and the main station, you will find the main building of the Deichmann Bibliotek. This is the public library of Oslo. The name comes from the industrialist Karl Deichmann, who bequeathed several thousand books to the city of Christiania in the late 18th century. The construction of the new building started in 2014 after the motorway was moved to a tunnel. As usual for public projects in Norway, the costs went totally out of control and ended at 2.5 billion krones. The library was inaugurated in 2020. The entry is free. There is a little cafe on the ground floor and it's open nearly every day. The Public Transport Museum is located in Majorstuen. There you can see old trams, metros and buses from Oslo and the surrounding region, which tell the history of public transport. Contrary to similar museums around the world, it is possible to enter most vehicles and sit in them. This is very popular amongst children. You find the museum by following the single-track line westwards from the crossing at Majorstuen. The entry to the museum is on the other side of the building where the tracks are. The museum is open from Saturday to Tuesday from 11 to 3. The Public Transport Museum also offers a bus tour through Oslo called Bussringen. These are organized on selected Sundays during the summer half year. The visitors can learn the history of Oslo where no tourist usually ventures. Akerselva is a river which flows through Oslo and divides the city in two. It's not a big river, don't imagine something like the Rhine, Seine or Danube. It's more like a large creek. In early days, a lot of industry was settled along the river to use the water power of the many waterfalls. There is a path along the river from Grønland to Maridalsvannet. It starts just at the metro station in Grønland. Then follow the path along the river. Along the path there are many parks. There are also some restaurants just at the waterfront. On the day of our walk, there was also an alternative market. Some people try to descend the river on canoes or inflatable dinghies. The path ends at Maridalsvannet, which is Oslo's main drinking water reserve. Therefore, there is a fence around the lake. At the point of Tjuvholmen, there is the Astrup Fearnley Museum of Modern Art. The building was designed by the famous architect Renzo Piano and opened in 2012. Over several floors, you can see the modern art by the artist Jeff Koons, Richard Prince, Cindy Sherman, and many more. The museum has around 6 temporary exhibitions per year, to check their website. The museum is not that big, and is mostly interesting for people who are very interested in modern art. There is also art placed outside the museum, which can be enjoyed by everybody. Southeast of the city center, there is the Aker Until 2013, it was just a forest recreational area. Then the Ekeberg Sculpture Park was inaugurated. The businessman and art collector Christian Ringnes donated many art pieces to create this park. There are currently around 30 sculptures and installations throughout the park. Most have women as a subject. Further, you will find the remains of the Ekeberg War Cemetery, which was rehabilitated in 2013. German soldiers were buried here, but all graves were moved in the 1950s. At the beginning of the park, there is also the Ekeberg restaurant. The park is open 24/7 and can be accessed by taking the tram 13 or 19 to the stop Ekebergparken. Bogstadveien is a street in the western part of Oslo. It starts from the crossing at Majorstuen and runs eastward to the castle. It's the street with the tram. The lower half is actually called Hegdehausveien. There are many higher-end shops in the area. Around 2012, the street was upgraded. but year-long construction was a demise of many small shops, so the shopping is not as good as it used to be. But we still prefer it to Karl Johans gate. When sightseeing, you can walk along Bogstadveien when going from the castle to Vigelandsparken. On the border of Grünnerløkka, you will find Mathallen. This is a converted industrial zone, which today houses many food shops and restaurants in the main hall, as well as in the buildings around. If you're looking for a place to eat, not too far from the center, but not at the hotspots, check this area. You will certainly find something to your liking. There are restaurants in all price ranges. The Norwegian Maritime Museum is located in Brygge next to the Fram and Kontiki Museum. It focuses on the history of seafaring in Norway. The visitor can see old ships, models and paintings. In the side building there are different ancient boat types on display. In the basement of the main building, they are building a boat using Viking methods. They started it in 2023 and it will take several years until the project is completed. Check their website to know when the shipbuilder is present and working on the boat. Calculate at least 45 minutes to visit the museum. You reach the Maritime Museum by taking bus 30 to Bygdenes. Gamlebyen is the old town of Oslo. Don't think of it as the old town in the Central European cities. It's just where Oslo used to be the Middle Ages, but nearly all of the old buildings are gone. When Oslo was called Christiania, this part of the city was called Oslo. That's the reason why there is an Oslo gate, which means Oslo Street, in Oslo. You will still find some ruins around the city, as well as in the Middle Age Park. During the summer half-year, there are guided tours inside some of the buildings and around the ruins. Check Ladegård's website to see when there are guidings. Roseslottet, the Rose Castle, is an art installation at Frognerseteren. There you will find paintings and sculptures about Norway during the Second World War. The original plan is to have this installation until 2025, but there are plans to keep that permanent. Although the paintings and history are interesting, the visit might become depressing. Roseslottet is located right behind the metro at the terminus of Metro Line 1 at Frognerseteren. The 17th of May is the National Day in Norway. It commemorates the signing of the first constitution in 1814. Many Norwegians will wear traditional clothing called bunad. On that day there is a big parade in the city. Each school will send a delegation of children, as well as a marching band. The course goes around the city center, up to Karl Johans gate and to the royal castle. There the children greet the royal family, who is standing on the balcony of the castle. The parade starts at 10:30, but the people who are participating will have to get up early on that day. As there are over 100 schools participating in the parade, it will last for around 3 hours. Many people will leave as soon as their children have passed the castle, so it will get less crowded towards the end. The central place in front of the castle is the VIP area, but near the end of the parade, the controls will stop so everybody can access it. The end of the parade is marked when the Royal Guard's marching bands play. To experience that, you have to be, obviously, on a 17th of May in Oslo. Note that many museums and attractions are closed on that day. Stovner Tower is a structure in the quarter of Stovner, next to the eastern border of Oslo. A path winds up to the view platform to give some views over the eastern part of Oslo. The structure is somewhat interesting, but as there is nothing of interest around it, it's probably not worth visiting. If you want to see it anyway, take Metro Line 4 or 5 to Stovner. Northwest of Oslo, at the border of Nordmarka, you will find Bogstadvannet. This is a small lake and a popular recreation area. There is a beach and park next to the street. On the shore there is also Oslo Golf Club, which is Norway's oldest and most exclusive golf club. A bit further away there is Bogstad Gård. This is a farm which can be visited. The barn with animals is accessible at certain times of the day, and there are also art exhibitions. In winter, many people do cross-country skiing here. you can reach Bogstad with bus 41 from Røa. Looking for little cozy wooden houses? You will find some in Telthusbakken. This is just behind Mathallen on a narrow steep street. Remember, people live in them. They are not just a tourist attraction. There is also the Kjærlighetsstien, the path of love, next to Telthusbakken. The geographical center of Oslo doesn't lie in the city. It is located northeast of Sognsvann in the middle of the forest, next to the lake Nordre Blanksjø. The hike starts at Sognsvann, which is the terminus of Metro Line 5. Follow the path to the small lake Svartkulp, and at the dam take the path which goes slightly to the right. The center of Oslo is a few hundred meters away. It's a small monument right next to the path. It takes approximately 20 minutes to reach it from Sognsvann. Søringa is a new quarter built on the old container terminal. It is located right in front of the opera and the Munch Museum. From the Munch Museum, there is a floating bridge to get to Søringa. The end of the bridge is a popular place in the summer to suntan or swim in the fjord. It can be very crowded on certain days. There are also several restaurants and bars. Frogner is one of the boroughs of Oslo. This is where the rich and wealthy people live. It is located west of the castle. Next to many townhouses, you will find small shops who sell luxury goods. If you like exclusive shopping, this is the place to go. There are also restaurants and bars spread around. If you think there is a relation between Frogner and Frognerseteren, you are totally right. There used to be a farm, Frogner, in the area. They had a mountain pasture, which is called seter in Norwegian. Sognsvann is a small lake north of Oslo. It is a very popular recreational area as it is easily accessible by public transport, as Metro Line 5 ends there. There is also a huge parking place there. There is a path around the lake, and it's also the starting point to many hikes in Nordmarka. At the beginning of the lake there are some grass areas which are very popular for barbecuing in the summer. If you don't like it crowdy, there are several other places to grill around the lake. Between April and October, it is forbidden to make fire outside of approved places. Forest fire danger usually starts after it hasn't rained for a week, so check if it is not completely forbidden after long periods of nice weather. Many people also take a swim in the lake. There are several piers to easily get into the water. In winter there, the path around the lake is cleared, so you can go around without skis. Some of the most popular cross-country ski slopes start here. When going to Ullevålseter, there can be a lot of traffic. Nordmarka and Østmarka. Both markas are large forest areas and are located, as their name suggests, to the north and east of Oslo. There is also a Vestmarka, but it lies in Asker and not in Oslo. Motorized traffic through it is normally forbidden except for electric bikes. There are a lot of hiking paths through it, so it is difficult to choose. Popular destinations in Nordmarka are Kopperhaugen, Kikkut, Holmenkollen and Bjørnsjøen. Accessing some of these places will require many hours of hiking. To reach the northern end around Røa counts several days. If you want to stay overnight, you can either camp or book a room in some cabins. The most popular are Kopperhaughytta and Kikkutstua. If you want to stay there for a night, book in advance, especially for weekends. There are also many unserviced D&T cabins. Østmarka is less mountainous but more wild. There are plans to make it into a national park. There are many starting points for which a hike can be accessed with public transport like Sognsvann, Frognerseteren, Skansebakken, Skar, Skullerud and Ellingsrudåsen. As the name says, Oslo lies at the Oslo Fjord. It is approximately 120 kilometers long and 300 meters deep at its deepest. Even if it's called a fjord, it is geologically not a fjord, as it was not made by glaciers. The origin is a rift which was created at the end of the Perm, around 250 million years ago, with the breakup of Pangea. Today the region around Oslo Fjord is the most populated area of Norway, so the Oslo Fjord is an economically important waterway with a port of Oslo and Drammen, as well as an important recreational area. Many Norwegians have boats, and on warm summer days there are plenty of boats in the fjord. In recent years, a number of saunas have been installed along the fjord. It has become very popular to go there and jump in the fjord after it, even in winter. There are also several islands in the fjord. The most known ones are Hovedøya, Gressholmen and Lindøya. All these islands are connected by boat lines which run from Aker Brygge. There are 2 longer boat routes which run on weekends and during summer vacation, which run all the way to Akershus Fortress and Drøbak. There are also boat sightseeings offered by different companies. The Østensjøvannet is a small lake in the southeastern Oslo. It is specially known for its rich wildlife variety. As many as 200 different bird species have been observed, and many of them are endangered. There are also 8 bat species, over 1,800 types of insects, and many other animals. It is also the lake with the largest variety of water and swamp plants. There is a path all around the lake which takes around 1.5 hours to go around. You reach Østensjø by taking bus 70 to Bogerudmyra. Higher up Holmenkollen and Frognerseteren, you'll find Tryvann, where Oslo's largest ski resort lies. It consists of several ski lifts and slopes. During the summer, there is a large climbing park there. From the parking, you will notice the high antenna station with what seems to be an observation deck. Unfortunately, the viewpoint up there was closed in 2007, as stricter fire safety regulations were introduced. Every couple of years, there is an attempt to reopen it, which is then again never heard of after it was announced in the media. During winter season, there is bus line 48 from the metro station Voksenkollen, which takes you right to the ski center. When coming to Oslo, most people will not think about going to the beach, but in and around the city there are several beaches, which have become very popular in the last few years, as summer temperatures have increased. And don't expect sand beaches, these are rare in Norway. The beaches in the center are located at Tjuvholmen, next to the opera, and at Sørenga. These are called city beaches. On warm summer days, it can be really crowded. If you don't mind that, feel free to go there. Otherwise, there are less crowded and more natural beaches. The most known of the classic beaches is found on Bygdøy at Huk. When going there, be sure to choose the right side of the beach. West of the little bay is the nudist beach. If you are the only one wearing a bath suit, then you are on the wrong side. Please check the specific rules for that part before venturing there. Other beaches nearby are Paradisbukta and Bygdøy Sjøbad. There are also beaches and bath places on different islands, along the eastern side of the fjord and at several lakes. Check the link in the description. So, we will end the video here, even if we haven't covered everything that can be seen in Oslo. But the attractions on that list should be enough for a 1-week stay. Check VisitOSLO website for more ideas. If you're still watching the video, you should really consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't done it yet. Also, check our Facebook and Instagram pages for additional content.